due to copyright infringements, we stopped right then and there. We are the hounds of justice, but we are not the hounds of copyright laws. This is MPW Military Press Wrestling. I am your host, Silent J, and I'm not wearing them, but I got them with me right there. El Caco, live and in the sparkly flesh. Look at that. Look at the freaking. Look at that mask. Look at that. Whew. Can't wait to touch myself wearing that thing. Anyway, along with me, we got the new version of the Midnight Express. Looks like Stunning Stan Lane is with us tonight. Hey guys, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good. How you doing, brother?
Hey, listen, if you're gonna give yourself an intro, give yourself a real intro, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I am, of course, as you already know, the professor of professional wrestling, and to the left of me is the one and only Sean Joyce, and sitting in for Mr. Dedicated this week.
And if you're not done with that, we got 2 words for you.
Suck it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem too dedicated. You know, he's running with his winning streak. So you know,
I've talked to Mr. Dedicated, and he has told me that he will most definitely be back next week, and he's going to get back into a groove.
Nice. Right now, he is in parts unknown.
Yeah.
That's the go-to.
Just being dedicated, you know.
Yes. I do have to say, on the last show, there was a mix-up. It was a last-second thing. I had 2 very special guests on Tactical 16 Radio from the 7 to 9 o'clock hours, if you will. And I have to say, Cody Knox he's a filmmaker. He's done some films. You guys might know him as the creator, filmmaker extraordinaire of Wrestlers versus Zombies. So, starring Kurt Angle, Roddy Piper, Jim Duggan, Shane Douglas. So, if you guys haven't watched it, I haven't. You got to check out Wrestlers versus Zombies, and it seems cool. It seems pretty damn cool. I'm a huge wrestling fan. We are huge wrestling fans. The listeners are huge wrestling fans, and I'm also a fan of zombies. I love zombie flicks. Everything from George Romero to The Walking Dead. There's only a few I dislike. So if you mix the two, you can't go wrong. Especially with the likes of Roddy Piper, Kurt Angle. He kills zombies with a broken frickin' neck. Can you? I don't know.
Making them tap one at a time.
Yes, and then Hacksaw Jim Duggan running around calling zombies derogative names for women. Ho! And then Shane Douglas, which I talked to Shane Douglas after I talked to filmmaker Cody Knox. I talked to Shane Douglas for an hour and 25 minutes, and I do not get nervous. I am a professional freelance host, radio broadcaster, podcaster, internet radio host. I've done FM, I've done the internet, I've done podcasts. I've been doing this for 6 years, and I tell you what, man, oh man, oh man. Like Winnie the Pooh would say, I in my pants was the 100-acre woods because I was hard hell for a good hour. Not from Shane Douglas's stunning good looks, but just the fact that I got to talk to one of my idols, and I wish, Adam, I wish you were a part of that.
I do too, man. Shane Douglas, big inspiration for me as a wrestling fan.
And I tell you what, it'll be up on Podbean and iTunes. I'm putting that up tonight, and you most certainly believe I will be shopping that around all the dirt sheet websites, because you know who he did before. You know whose show he was on before my show?
Whose show was that?
Stone Cold Steve Austin's show. So Stone Cold
Shit.
Steve Austin warmed up Shane Douglas for me. All right, I was the fucking headliner tonight, boys and girls. Right? And I went past the 60-minute time limit. There was no TV time limit here.
You, sir, were the franchise.
Yeah. And I tell you what, man, I talked to him. That guy, he started wrestling in the mid 80s. He went to wrestling school. He went to college, got his degree, teacher. Just he got into wrestling because he was a fan. I can't remember the name of the wrestling school he went to, but it was one of a legendary wrestler.
Killer Kowalski.
Not Killer Kowalski.
He had the same, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he had the same trainer as Triple H, didn't he?
Johnny Rods.
Was it Johnny Rods?
And I'll look it up. He had the same trainer. He went to school with Mick Foley.
Oh, it's Mick Foley. Okay.
Let me, I'll get it for you here, right here. Give me 1 second. Let me go to the ever truthful Wikipedia. Dominic DeNucci.
DeNucci.
Yep, he was trained by Dominic DeNucci, who also trained. Let's see, Shane Douglas, Brian Hildebrand, Mick Foley. If you don't know who Brian Hildebrand is, that is probably the baddest frickin' referee in all of wrestling. He was the little tiny guy in WCW. He died. He had cancer, I believe. But he was the little guy. When Ric Flair would push him, he would push Ric Flair back, and Ric Flair would fall.
Classic.
He was 5'6", 145 pounds. And he would put Ric Flair on his ass. You don't touch Brian Hildebrand. Referee extraordinaire. But also this guy also trained Moondog Spot amongst them. But yeah, so Shane Douglas started off in good company because Dominic DeNucci was from the same territory, upbringing with Bruno Sammartino in Pittsburgh, and this guy was an Olympic wrestler. He didn't wrestle in the Olympics because that was at the time when Olympians had to pay their own way to the games, and he came from a very poor family. So this guy would have been the Kurt Angle of Italy, and he also, he came from Italy, so he had that tie with Bruno Sammartino as well. So Shane Douglas, I didn't realize his lineage, and he started in UWF. And then, went from there, NWA, WCW, ECW, WWF, back to ECW, WCW, and then CZW, and a little bit of everything now.
XPW and all that.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I forgot XPW. But I tell you what, I've interviewed a few wrestlers before, Low Key being one of them. But Shane Douglas, I would put up there, from not knowing any of these guys, just understanding. You've heard like Scott Hall's got a mind, for wrestling. Ray has a mind for wrestling. From actually sitting down and talking to Shane Douglas has the mind for wrestling, and just whatever you could say, whatever you want about the guy. Just what he was saying, he was speaking not only as a fan but as a wrestler, and as somebody, like he said, I think I'm not going to quote him. I'll paraphrase, but it's something like, now I'm old fat Shane Douglas. So he has that, he has that reality of he is the veteran now. And he said it took him about 7 years before he became comfortable in the ring and as a performer, as an artist. And I tell you what, man, sitting down with him, total respect. We talked about the Sandman, Shane Douglas, Mick Foley, Malenko, Benoit angle when Sandman was the champion, and he put it into such perspective that it's like I'm on my never-ending quest of watching every episode of ECW Vertical TV, and now I'm gonna watch. I'm in that time frame right now. I'm gonna watch that with a different set of eyes and be able to appreciate the Sandman's reign even more from what Shane Douglas said. And he also talked about being Dean Douglas. Douglas. And he said before, he goes, that's something he never wanted to talk about.
Former
He didn't want to talk about it.
Intercontinental champion.
Yeah, and I told him, I'm like, man, I was so happy you got the belt, and that guy got his ass kicked in Syracuse, and he kind of harumphed a little bit, but then he went into his first promo in WWF, and he's like, Dean Douglas, I didn't really get it, I didn't like it, but I also got it. I understood with my background being in education and whatnot, and he goes, my first promo was on Razor Ramon, and he goes, give me a couple bullet points, and I could cut a promo, and he can. You've seen the work that
one of the
best
in the business, one of the most raw. He was just so raw on the microphone. I mean, people say that he may have swore a little too much when it came to being on the mic, but I personally liked it. It gave a little oomph to what he was saying.
Yeah, it gave it that reality, because you know what? When you're a big dude fighting another big dude, you're gonna probably say a few swear words. He brought reality in my mind. But he said when he did his first promo as Dean Douglas, he was doing that backstage vignette type thing, and he said he looked at the camera and he goes, where's the camera? It was an image of him, of Dean Douglas, and he gets ready to start talking, and all of a sudden there's words on a teleprompter, and he's like, what? And he goes, I remember, he goes, the words were like, Scott, Razor Ramon, in that ring is my classroom, and I'm gonna teach you a lesson. And then he's like, stop, cut. That's not me. And he said right then and there, more or less, it's like, ugh, and how that translates over to today. And he brought up the person I was thinking. I'm like, I know how what I feel about this person, like he's being held back. And he said Seth Rollins. And he goes, you look at Seth Rollins, he physically he has it, athletically he has it. Then I'm like, yeah, then you hear him cut a promo in 15 seconds, he says the name John or Randy, 15 times. It's like nobody would do that,
Loosen up. It's what I've been saying since the very first show here at MPW. He's just got to loosen up on the mic. It's way too scripted. It's like he's thinking about his next line before he delivers one.
When he said, and that's the problem. He goes, it's all scripted. He goes, where these guys can't, unless you're a John Cena or The Rock or Triple H or Randy Orton, which everything with him sounds scripted.
Okay.
You are reading off a script. Either
can I just take a moment and shoot on someone real quick here? So I got Mr. Dedicated walking right in front of me right now.
Son of a bitch.
Strutting around like he's Ric Flair. I don't know if anybody just caught this guy walking a lady out of the house. I don't know if this guy thinks he is. He can skip MPW for the week for a woman, and I'm not tolerating it. I'm the dedicated one.
He seems like
dedicated is here now.
He seems like a limo riding, jet flying, kiss stealing son of a gun right now.
Oh, and now we got 3. Now there's 3.
Woo! And there's 4 over here. There we go. And I got the crooked Mongo finger right now because of because that time I was trying to bowling drunk. It's not from a war injury. It's my finger hurts. But anyway, yeah, Shane Douglas put so many things into perspective from talking to him tonight, and yeah, I'm really excited because also here's one cool thing.
Yeah, I mean,
his promo that he's starting with the guy. Guess what they're offering their wrestlers? Healthcare.
How much is that?
That is a first.
That's being a pro wrestler, that's worth almost any money.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, and like you said, nobody else does that. They're not going to be considered independent contractors. They will be considered employees, and they're getting full employee perks of working for a company. So I thought that was pretty damn cool. It takes one to take care of one, you know. It takes one to know one. So my hat as a fan is tipped to you, one Mr. Pittsburgh badass Shane Douglas, for
Oh yes, one of the greatest to come out of Pittsburgh, PA, next to
yes.
Kurt Angle. I didn't want to be that guy, but yes, I'm gonna have to say next
Well, you
to
know
Kurt
what?
Angle.
I didn't. I never saw Shane Douglas win a gold medal with a broken frickin' neck. Um, but
But he's Shane Douglas, man. You know what? Shane Douglas was that first champion from ECW that they can make that guy and have him give him the mic and have him call out any other champion he wanted to
yep.
and make it believable
Yep.
until Taz came along.
Oh, you know what? It was funny. I never brought up him throwing the belt. I didn't want it to be that same old wrestling interview. You know what I mean? I wanted to separate myself from the umpteen million interviews he's done over the last, 30 years.
And he's had to answer that same question of why he threw away the NWA title.
I never even brought it up. We were talking about how Ricky Steamboat made a wrist lock look amazing. Like, you had to watch it. We also brought up, and I got a laugh out of him. He said something like, we were talking about, like, suspension of belief and being real and stuff like that. And he goes, with me, he goes, I cut a promo. He goes, I was that person. I thought I was the best athlete there. So he goes, that was my persona. He goes, the Sandman was the fan, and then I'm paraphrasing, was the fan that could get it done, and he became the champion. He goes, he couldn't wrestle his way out of a wet paper bag, but here he is, the ECW World Heavyweight Champion. And he goes, then Taz, and I told him, like, Taz, I go, was intimidating. I'm like, even with that goofy hairdo. And I got a chuckle out of Shane Douglas for making fun of Taz's haircut before he went and did the old shave job. And I said, he was badass. Even he didn't even have to wear any damn shoes to be a badass. So I got a laugh out of Shane Douglas for making fun of Taz's hair, which I would never ever do in person, by the way. I tell you. And he reminded me that Taz is the suplex machine. So.
Damn right, the original mayor of Suplex City, bitch.
But anyway, going a little bit, like blending the old with the new, like Shane Douglas had brought up, the scriptedness. He goes, how can there be 52 million wrestling viewers 20 years ago, and now there's only 3 million? He goes, okay, for ratio's sake, some of them died. He goes, but not all of them. And he said, it's because it's scripted. He said because you can tell. He goes, even like we were saying, even the dumb fans, knows when something's not organic, when something's not real. And then there's those of us that put more stock into watching it, and you kind of know what's real. You get that feel for what's real and and I told him, like, I hate to use this word by Will, but what's fake, and I said that with all due respect, and he understood it. Like you said, it's the scriptedness. It's the, it's the machine mentality. What do you guys think in pro wrestling, and it's all of its glory and how we watch it every week, night in, night out. In your guys' opinions, each one of you, what is the one thing that wrestling now doesn't have, or what wrestling needs?
I might start. We'll roll out liner.
They don't really have the charisma anymore.
Not
That's what I'm looking for.
well, you're right. There are a lot of guys that just aren't as charismatic as guys back in the day.
Yeah, their promos aren't as good.
It's weak.
Their promos are very weak.
Yeah. Now, do you think you see somebody like with weak promos? The first thing that comes to mind, and no disrespect to him, is Roman Reigns. He's got that. You could tell he's got
garbage.
He's got that cockiness.
His words.
brooding. You know he's got that cockiness. He looks good. He's got a good look to him. He's built. He's big. He's got that football. He's got that athlete mentality. He comes from a wrestling family. You know, somewhere deep down inside, he knows. Maybe not now, but he knows 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, he has the potential to be the best in wrestling. Not saying he is or will be, but he has the potential just from his lineage. And I look at that guy, it's like, man, he should be the now version of what The Rock was in the 90s and the 2000s. Even now. Like, just got that, but for the love of God, man, you could be cocky and still be PG. Just him, for example. Like, what is wrong with Roman Reigns, and why do I? It's not that I don't like him, whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, face or heel. I don't fucking care. Like, what do you think somebody like him has to do to make people care?
He needs Paul Heyman by his side.
He needs to be a heel. That guy right there needs to be a heel, where he's just coming out and he's hitting guys with Superman punches. He's spearing guys through, the barricade. He's just taking guys out week after week. That is what will make me want to watch Roman Reigns. Him just being a super heel, beating the shit out of everybody.
With Paul Heyman by his side.
I mean, I'm okay with Paul Heyman, but either or way, you got to turn the guy heel. Whether he has Heyman as, as his voice or he's talking himself. I mean, personally, I think if you turn him heel and he doesn't have Heyman, you don't have him stay very much. I don't think they should if that's the case, but that's just me.
Fuck, did I lose you guys? No, you're still there. Even without Paul Heyman, you know how good a Superman punch will be to just anybody? At any random time. It could be like last week's RKO or, whatever.
It's one of those moves that you can just strike. You can hit it at any given moment.
I would love to see, what's his name? Sexton. Have Sexton interview him and then just Superman punch him. He didn't like that question. Why are you asking me that question? Superman punch.
Yeah, he asks him. He finds the question stupid.
Yeah, just no reason. You can punch him, man. Punch him. Grab the microphone and be like, I didn't like that question. Here's the question I would ask Roman Reigns. Have him talk in the third person a little bit. Have him borrow something from his cousin. This is the question you ask Roman Reigns, and then here's the response you'll get. And then have him throw the mic. That's how you speak to Roman Reigns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Picking up his teeth. Now, not so much. It's like, I don't like him. Somebody I do like, Seth Rollins. Physically, he's got the look. He's got the title. He's got a great moveset. The guy could do a lot. He can, he could fly. He could cheat. He can wrestle.
It's all about the promos, though.
But yeah, then the promo. It's like, and you know how weaselly awesome he could be? He's got the 2 smallest bodyguards in the world. I mean, who really is intimidated by having someone with Nobles and Mercury by your side? Like, there's no fear in that. That's like the Stooges, in a sense. It's like, okay, 2 old guys, they're not gonna do anything. These 2 little guys, what are they gonna do?
They're like Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe.
Yeah, just even smaller. So, but it's like, Seth Rollins, he's got the whole package to be just freaking despised.
I'm sorry, I'm just completely disagreeing here. I mean, I personally take former cruiserweight champion Jamie Noble extremely serious. All right.
I take Kid Cash a little more serious. I take Amish
Kid
Roadkill.
Cash was a force to be reckoned with. All right.
I take Roadkill a little more serious. Chickens.
Chickens.
I watched the other night for no apparent reason, getting ready for bed. I'm just Powerbomb compilation on YouTube, and I watched 5 minutes of Power Bombs, And I tell you what, the one besides the Japanese ones that just like, why are you doing that? Why are you power bombing somebody and then folding them in half? But Mr. Amish Roadkill, his power bomb looked very nasty. I didn't like that. I don't know if that guy had a little too much chicken grease on him, but when you power bomb a man, he's not supposed to land on his shoulder and his bicep. Um, that guy, that looked like it hurt, man. You need to wipe off the chicken grease when you deliver a devastating blow like that, my friends. But let's talk a little bit real quick. What's your one mid card, low card ECW wrestler that just did it for you? Whether it's a Kid Cash or Amish Roadkill or Jack Victory or the Shah. Who was that guy? Who was just like he was never gonna win a title or anything like that, even though Roadkill and Cash did. But what I'm saying, like the guys that just did it for you, had that little something that just made it entertaining.
I was gonna say Hack Myers actually. When the crowd is going and you just hear Shaw and then shit and Shaw and shit. I mean, I'm sad his career, didn't go longer. And, I had to look up more Hack Myers as I dig back into 94, 95. And I just said, oh man, it ended 96. There could have been a lot more there. He could move. So I'm a big Shaw fan myself.
And I tell you what, the outfit, the whole persona of one Hack Myers, the Shah of ECW wrestling. It was just like that guy was perfect. You know how awesome they could have called him and the Sandman as a tag team? That would have been phenomenal. The shittiest pants in professional wrestling. That's what their name could have been.
I think my favorite ECW mid-carder is probably most people's favorite ECW mid-carder, and hands down it has to be New Jack. What? Now why are you gonna give me that? Now why are you giving me that look?
No.
Nope.
Nope.
You can tell me when you hear the gunshot in the intro to Natural Born Killers by Ice Cube and Dr. Dre, and the entire crowd stands on their feet and starts chanting New Jack. That is not one of the best. And he comes down to the ring with his garbage can filled with weapons, and he whoops everybody's ass. There's nothing better than that.
You know what?
He's not a great worker at all. I don't even know if he knows three moves.
Yeah, he knows 3 moves.
But
stabbing.
He's one of the most over wrestlers ever.
Oh no, I give you that. I give New Jack props, and I like them, but not to that extent. Jesus.
I'm sorry. I just anytime he comes out, my eyes are glued to the TV, and there's no taking my attention away from the TV. Very, very few guys that can take my full attention like that. Yeah. I just think that the gimmick was genius, as much as it was a gimmick. I just feel like it was New Jack.
I'll give you a tag team since we're on tag team. Well, since we're a one-time tag team wrestler. 2 guys that I liked. They had many names. They were the Can-Am Express. They were Furnace and Crefant, Furnace and LaFont in WWF.
Tree trunk legs.
Yeah. Doug Furnace and Dan Crefant, Phil LaFon, whatever he comes. But Furnace and LaFon, man, did I like those guys in ECW. I don't know why. I was always a fan of tag team wrestling in ECW. The Eliminators, Cronus and Mustafa. I liked those guys. Dances with Dudley. I liked him. But I don't know what it was. It was like the tag team wrestling in ECW I liked, and the supporting cast. So I've always been a huge fan of Furnace and LaFont, and I don't think they ever got their due in ECW or WWF.
In ECW was the only time that I really even liked him.
That's the thing. I liked him in WWF watching Shotgun Saturday Night.
Ooh.
Yeah, there you go.
Throwback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite mid Carter?
Jerry Lynn.
Nah, that's not me, Carter.
He's not making it.
I mean, he's
Heavyweight champion.
former
Heavyweight
heavyweight champion, right?
Oh, okay, hold on. Mikey
He was one time.
Mikey Whipwreck was was a champion at one time.
He was champion too, wasn't he?
Yep.
No, Buffalo Native. Buffalo
Yeah, he
Native.
did. He did beat Austin for the belt.
Yeah. You know what? Some of the let's go on the role of the theme of the strong mid Carter or the supporting cast. So we all got our favorites. Jerry Lynn, yeah, he was phenomenal, but he was never the driving force, in ECW. So I could take that. What's your number one mid Carter in I'm going to split it up between the two. First WWF, then WWE. But your favorite mid Carter of WWF? What say you guys?
Carter, man.
Yeah, you're gonna have to give me a second on this one. Now, I mean, are we just talking about? Now, we're not talking Derby. We're talking WWF. What time era? Does it matter?
90s, doesn't matter. Just WWF from 81 to 2001, 2002, 2000.
Oh,
Was it?
geez, so many. Man, D'Lo Brown.
Ooh, yeah. I like that. I like the head shaking. Yes,
The theme song, everything about the guy, from the body armor to the lowdown, everything about the guy. He didn't even have to say much.
He didn't have to say much at all. I will I will attest to that. Agree with that. At one of the best mid card feuds, I think. Val Venus and D'Lo.
Yeah, yes. Their match at SummerSlam 1998, I think it's the opening match for the European title. It's got to be. I'd give it a 4.3 out of 5.
Yes, and you know what I say about D'Lo Brown?
What's that?
You're looking at the real deal now. Sorry ass out on the street. Tell what you got. You used to think you own the street. We're back to back and your ass is dead meat. Victory sweet. Bring it on. Here's your receipt. Bring it on. What you gonna do about it? Bring it on. Is that what you got? Bring it on. And what you gonna do about it? Bring it on. Gonna kick your sorry ass for what you gonna do?
There.
One of the most badass theme songs of all time.
D'Lo Brown is gonna kick your sorry ass. What you gonna do about it? Nothing. Nothing. So yeah, D'Lo Brown, he was awesome. The head shaking when he was like the suit wearing bodyguard in the original incarnation, not the Tennessee version of the Nation, because there was an original Nation of Domination version in Tennessee, Jerry Lawler's promotion. But the original WWF Nation of Domination with PG-13, Crush, Savio Vega, Clarence Mason, and one Farouk. D'Lo Brown was just the bodyguard, just the guy.
Yeah, he just wore a suit.
Just the guy, yep. And then his transition into, a wrestler with the Nation, the whole Black Power thing, and then on his own, I can't see anybody not liking D'Lo, except it starts with a D. But we're not gonna.
That's awful.
I didn't say draws. Sorry, hold on. I had a puke. But anyway, yeah, D'Lo, I think he was like one of the ultimate mid carders of the Attitude Era. Another one, I would say, I'm not gonna say was my favorite necessarily, but Steve Blackman, another.
Yeah, that's another one I was thinking.
Badass hands down mid carder. You weren't gonna get much entertainment out of him. You got a little entertainment with D'Lo, but not too much. What you were gonna get really hard, really good, really strong matches. And I think Steve Blackman, He was one of those guys, like a Norman Smiley, old Big Wiggle himself. Um, you're just gonna get a good match.
Certain guys you just remember, and Norman's one of them.
Yep. I don't know. Man, the guy. I don't know what was bubble more had more of a bubble effect, his head or his ass. Yeah, dude's wearing underwear. Of course, I checked him out. But you remember Norman Smiley in ECW?
That I don't, but I did know he was there.
Mikey Whipwreck, Norman Smiley versus Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, Tampa Bay, Florida. I remember the location. I remember it all.
Whipwreck and Norman Smiley. That's one hell of a tag team.
I tell you what. I remember watching it when I was, back in the day, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? Who's that guy? Who's that guy with the Buffalo Badass, Mikey Whipwreck, with his freaking dungeon? Looks like with his T-shirt from New Age Creation from the Boulevard Mall." But you watch. I'm telling you what. Go back. It was the same time period with when the Sandman was World Heavyweight Champion. Norman Smiley put on a wrestling clinic with Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit. Even though he had a tag team partner, Mikey Whipwreck, him versus the Shooter and the Crippler, phenomenal. I mean, just the work rate, it's like how that guy wasn't a bigger star, I have no idea. But you go back and watch that show on Hardcore TV, and you will have a new appreciation for Norman Smiley. It's not just about the big wiggle and wrestling in hockey pads. The dude was a legit, real good wrestler. So you go back and then you tell me you don't have respect for the big wiggle. And if you don't have respect for the big wiggle, he might just stuff your head in a pillow and humble you.
Ooh. Sounds like us.
Oh, that's what you guys do? You guys, you know what? I watched that. We'll go back to the mid carders for a quick second. Yeah. Something about men getting their face stuffed in pillows brings me to a story. I watched the Iron Sheik documentary last week.
Great documentary.
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Dude, I tell you what, that was a roller coaster ride of emotions. First, it was nostalgic feelings. It's like, oh my God, the Iron Sheik. And then it's like anger, and then it's sadness, with his drug addiction, and then his daughter, and then you feel happy. This feeling of happy. It's like, oh my God, like the guy. I don't know how many people come back. How many people come back from a hardcore drug addiction like that, physical injuries, and then having your daughter not only just dying, but actually murdered, killed, strangled to death, and then coming back and beating all of that and reinventing yourself.
At such a late age too.
Yeah, 70s. It's 70s, in his 70s, like what, late 60s, early 70s. He did.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing about nowadays is guys don't have to get in the ring to make money. They can do other things.
Yeah, and that's the one guy. I mean, you go back 14 years ago to the Gimmick Battle Royal, and that dude could barely walk then.
He was the official winner though. No, Sergeant Slaughter was.
What was he?
No, Sheik was he was the official winner.
Oh yeah.
And then Slaughter put him in the Cobra Clutch.
I knew. Okay, all right. You just probably. I remember that. I wondered if the Iron Sheik humbled old Sergeant Slaughter in the dressing room afterwards. But yeah, just I tell you what, man, what a hell of a story that guy had. So if anybody, if anybody, for everybody who's listening, watch the Iron Sheik documentary on Netflix, and even if you're not a fan of wrestling, if you're a fan of a good documentary and a good feel-good story, that's a hell of a damn documentary right there.
Not to mention that actor Dwayne Johnson's in it.
Yes. And how he finally gave the ultimate respect of giving Sheik the praise and the props for coining.
You fucking jabroni.
There you go. I listened to those guys. It was on I forgot what show it was, a podcast or show or whatever the case may be. They had the guys who directed the movie and produced it. They said they had a block of like 5 minutes with The Rock to do all that. And when they sat down, they basically went through a line like he was doing some publicity stuff. So, okay, this guy's coming in for this movie, that guy's coming in for this movie. All right, blah, blah, blah. 30 seconds, blah, blah, blah. 1 minute, blah, blah, blah. And I've been in one of those before. You remember the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket? Arlie Ermey?
Yeah.
I interviewed him last year, and I'd literally hit 10 minutes. It was like boom, boom, boom. And it was like, that was it. It was like, holy shit. Now he's going on to another interview with the same questions. Luckily, I got a question in there about sharks. Don't ask me why. I always wanted to differentiate myself from the next guy. I don't want to ask the same old question like, how was filming Full Metal Jacket and stuff like that. So I said something about sharks. And I think I asked him, and I got a weird response from his handler. I'm like, do you think you could beat a shark? And so he's like, sure, I don't know if I can, but Mrs. Arlie Ermey, my wife, she could definitely beat a shark. So I got that from the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket. So going back to the Sheik and Dwayne The Rock Johnson and stuff, like the guys that did the movie, the Sheik, they're basically in this line, and they said, all right, and this the Rock's handler was like, all right, you got 5 minutes, all right, go. And they sat down, they're like, he's like, you're doing a documentary about the Sheik? How much time do you need? They go, oh, we got like 5 minutes. No. And the Rock goes, how much time do you need? They sat down with him for an hour and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, like,
Paying respect to the legend.
yeah. And that's the thing. Double respect. Respect to The Rock for paying respect, to a legend. And, like you see in the movie, Iron Sheik's wife babysat The Rock. So
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. It's like, even can you name a star bigger than The Rock? I mean,
At this time, no.
no. I mean, wrestling, movies, television, film. I mean, anything. The Rock is he's the Arnold Schwarzenegger of
this generation. I said the same exact thing the other day.
Nice. And the fact that The Rock, I'm sure he's got a schedule busier than just about anybody on the face of the earth. This is why I can't fucking see. Jesus balls. All right, hey guys, maybe your lens wasn't foggy earlier. Holy shit. But just the fact that he's like, all the time you guys need, and they sat down an hour and a half, and they got all those stories, all those sound bites out of The Rock. I mean, just like double respect, and the fact that could you imagine the Sheik going around in 1984 in the WWF locker rooms calling the Hulk or Sergeant Slaughter or Jabroni?
Terry, he's yelling in Terry's face about how he's going to break his back, make him humble.
I make you humble, you jabroni. He's the real. I don't know what the real is, but he's the real.
No. That's all you need to know. That the real is the Iron Sheik. Whatever the real is, you just look at the Iron Sheik, and that's all you need to know.
Exactly. But speaking of the real, now we talked about the Attitude Era a little bit with D'Lo. What do you think the real mid Carter is of the 80s WWF? And arguably, there's a lot of people you could put in there just because that was like the era of just Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Sergeant Slaughter, Backlund, the Iron Sheik, and the Macho Man. Those. I mean, Bret Hart was a mid carder in the '80s. You know,
Yeah.
Rick Rude was an upper tier, upper guy. Jake the Snake was an upper guy, but geez, I mean, like the ultimate mid carder. Uh, I, I mean, shit. I mean, it's a hard one for the '80s. I mean, do you go with Superfly? I don't know. I would say maybe Jimmy Snuka, the ultimate mid carder of the WWF, '80s WWF.
Brutus the Barber.
Ah, shit, you got me there. The Dream Team, Brutus the Barber.
I can't elaborate.
My favorite guy from the '80s would probably be, just for fun, I'm gonna go with Coco Beware.
Ooh. I was thinking that, but yeah, that's really good. I don't know how many matches he won. But man,
He would, it was the persona though. I saw him live this past summer, and he was actually a pretty entertaining dude to watch. I mean, he didn't put on a 5-star match. He wasn't doing a bunch of technical moves, but he was an entertaining dude to watch. He was.
that yeah, I could definitely see that, and I just keep thinking of Pile Driver. He was yeah,
Great album.
he was the breakout star of WWF singers, in my opinion.
Yes, indeed.
I sent you that picture. I found that album last weekend.
I love the cover.
Yeah, I would have loved to have bought it, but I'm not spending $40-something on that. Even though it was an original press.
Absolutely not.
An original press, though.
Oh, that's one. I just actually thought of another one. Papa Shango, going into the '90s.
Yeah. I mean,
He also screwed up WrestleMania 7 or 8.
yeah, didn't he miss his mark on something?
He was supposed to run down to the ring at a much faster pace, I think, and he was running late, and he screwed it up. And Warrior came running behind him faster than hell and almost caught up to him.
Could you, well, you know what? I mean, I don't care. The Energizer Bunny could have done a bender of Coke, and I think the Ultimate Warrior still would have caught up to him. I don't know who's going to run out. I don't know who's going to outrun the Ultimate Warrior ever, because he lives on in all of us. But yeah. Now, how many gimmicks can you name of one Papa Shango?
Oh, God. Godfather, Papa Shango,
Nation.
comma.
The
Good
Ultimate
father.
Fighting Machine,
Good one.
comma. Comma Mustafa.
Kama Mustafa, yes, sir.
Let's
I'm not sure if there are any others.
I don't know.
There's about
Look
6
it
of them.
up.
Yeah, owner of like 6 strip clubs in Vegas.
Oh no. Oh, we missed a few. Here are his ring names: Baron Smedley, the Godfather, the Good Father, comma Mustafa, Papa Shango, Pimp Father, Rocky Las Vegas, Sir Charles, and I do remember this guy, the Soul Taker.
The
Soul Taker.
That one I don't know.
What?
He's in his 50s. Really?
Oh, yeah.
Pimpin' ain't easy.
He was the Soul Taker in USWA, Jerry Lawler's USWA. It was taken from one of the tattoos on his arm. Even with his admitted limited skill set, he was given the USWA Unified. Why did I have to sum that out so bad? The Unified World Heavyweight Championship in 1989 and held it for 2 weeks. Yeah.
Wasn't a very good champion, I guess.
Oh, okay, right here. After a brief stint in Japan and other American independent promotions, Wright, who is his actual name, was brought to the WWF at the suggestion of his friend, The Undertaker. He wrestled briefly at house shows as Sir Charles, a play on both his real name and the nickname of National Basketball
Uh,
Association player Charles Barkley. Um,
that's right. He was also a member of the backstage crew.
that I
If
do
you,
remember.
yeah, he was with Yokozuna, um, I think the Godwins.
Harris Brothers.
Yeah, the Harris brothers. If you've ever seen Undertaker's tattoo on his stomach, it says BSK. It stands for Backstage Crew, and they all had that same tattoo.
I did
That was
not.
their version of the Click.
So, I mean, just the names that you rattled off, I would be a little more scared of the backstage crew as opposed to the clique.
A little bit more of an intense bunch.
You know what? And brings me. You brought up some names, some good wrestlers, good tag team wrestlers in the '90s. I'm a huge fan of tag teams. The Godwins, the Godwins, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Southern Justice, the Godwins, whatever the case may be. I like those guys, even with their stupid pig slop stuff. Good big men wrestlers, and
Absolutely.
man, I like those guys. But remember Southern Justice with Jeff Jarrett when they did the whole what was it, the Smoky Mountain angle when they had the Smoky Mountain belts in the WWF?
NWA, yeah. There was that, and they also ran with Jeff Jarrett in the beginning of 2000 when Jeff Jarrett joined WCW.
Yeah,
Later
they did.
2000, I should say.
Yeah. I tell you, the Harris twins, Skull and Eight Ball from DOA, and they went over to WCW as what were they? Shoot, what were they? They were part of Standards and Practice,
New Blood.
like that.
Right.
Yeah, they were with the they were the security guards for the powers that be for a little bit, and then they got fired, which turned out to be Vince Russo.
Yeah, I remember. I like those guys too. I like those guys in WWF. Remember when they had the crazy hair? When they had the side bob hairdos before they shaved their heads?
No, that I don't.
You don't remember that? Let me Harris wrestling. The Harris brothers. Okay, the Harris brothers. They were the Blue Brothers, Eli and Jacob.
That sounds a little similar to the
Bruise Brothers.
Hold on, they were also the Bruise Brothers, Don and Ron. And
Don and Ron Harris.
Yeah, but I remember the Blue Brothers, BLU. Not like Tammy's baby boy Brandon, BLEW. I'm talking the Blue Brothers, Eli and Jacob. They were both 6'7", combined weight of 575 pounds.
Big boys.
But
Twins. Damn, was there anybody in that?
They were Creative Control.
Creative Control was their name when they were the powers that be security.
Gerald and Patrick. I don't. Who names a man 6'7"? Gerald. That's
Gerald.
yeah, another 6'7". His dad, who was 6'7", named Gerald. That's the only person who can name a 6'7" man, Gerald and Patrick. If you're SpongeBob's neighbors, moniker, hi Patrick. No, but yeah, look up the Blue Brothers, Eli and Jacob, and they had like this crazy hair, and they had this leather vest. They were kind of like one uh, Justin Hawk Bradshaw. They had that crazy thing going on before he dyed his hair. So, but mid carders, what's your ultimate mid carder? Because I'm not going to give them really an era, but WCW. We're not going to go into NWA, 80s NWA, but I mean like the ultimate mid carder of WCW. Of just the 90s WCW mid carder extraordinaire.
Mike Awesome. Mike Awesome is one of my favorite.
Was he
That
the
70s guy.
That's
Yeah,
70s
screw
guy.
what was the what was the fat gimmick he had? What was how was
Fat
that?
Chick Thriller.
Was it
They ruined him.
Fat chick
Fat
thriller.
Chick Thriller.
Yes, I loved him in in ECW. I absolutely
ECW.
And ECW is one of the most underrated wrestlers that you'll ever see there. You know, very underappreciated, not recognized how good he actually was, how agile he was, how powerful he was,
How big he was.
Flew
Yeah.
around
for how big he was and the way he can move. Him and Tanaka. If you want to watch two guys just trade power moves like they're chest chops, if you want to see a guy get power bombed, then the guy get up and power bomb him back, Mike Awesome and Tanaka. How those guys didn't die right then and there, I have no idea. I mean, just the when you fold somebody in half like that with a chair shot and then a power bomb through a table, followed up by another power bomb
onto the concrete on your freaking head.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that right there, aside from like really weapons type matches or anything Japan, Awesome and Tanaka, probably the stiffest American matches you'll ever see. I think I'd rank that right up there with Hansen and Vader or Hansen and Brody
Absolutely.
or Mishiwa. What was the guy? Matsuzuki Mitsuwawa or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Awesome and Tanaka, hands down, probably the stiffest, hardest matches you'll ever see coming out of an American promotion. Fuck, hands down, more brutal than anything you'll ever see in WWE or WWF.
Even their later, even matches that you watch from them that are, in 2005 at ECW One Night Stand, they had a great match, and you're looking at two guys that are 39-40 there.
Meltzer's match of the year.
I mean, I could see why.
Yeah, I mean, those guys could give, in terms of brutality, those guys, I think, don't ever tell them this, I think they could school somebody like Brock Lesnar in terms of just sheer brutality.
Imagine someone like Awesome against Lesnar.
I mean, not like athletic ability. Lesnar's a freak of nature that stands on his own. But Awesome and Lesnar, dude, that would be insane. That right there could have headlined a WrestleMania.
Oh, absolutely. Just because, the match would have been great.
In ECW, they should have had Sid Vicious versus Mike Awesome.
I agree. They should have plugged in on that one.
Yeah. That was the thing I liked about ECW was the fact that you could get, like when Ron Simmons went through, or when
Scott Hall
went through, Brian Pillman, Steve Austin, the list goes on and on and on. Arn Anderson, it's just those moments were awesome.
Which would be my favorite WCW mid-carder of all time.
Arn Anderson?
Absolutely, hands down.
Yeah, without a doubt.
The ability to be a world champion, but overshadowed by the greatest of all time, which, being the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Yeah, being second billing to Ric Flair, that says quite a bit. And the fact that if you'd be willing to go toe to toe with Sid in a street fight and win, um,
And damn near kill him.
yeah, like you don't mess with the man. Listen, if Arn Anderson is holding scissors, you do what he says. Okay, kids? So,
He also has one of the nastiest spine busters
oh
in
yeah.
wrestling history, bar none.
And I know they were a tag team in WCW, NWA, the Horsemen, but the Brain Busters,
The Brain Buster,
the Brain
absolutely. Tully
Busters,
Blanchard.
Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, and Bobby Heenan, dude, that right there was wrestling clinic. They were going up with some big, the British Bulldogs, the Hart Foundation, Demolition, the Quebecers, and the Road Warriors, but the Natural Disasters, they were, I think, the most technically sound tag team other than the Hart Foundation in that early 90s, late 80s, early 90s WWF. Brainbusters, hands down. I wish they were in WWF a little bit longer. That's all I got to say about that. But what do you guys think overall, my friends? What do you think the greatest mid-carder of all time? The only thing they can't have done, the only thing they can't have done is hold a world heavyweight championship belt. Tag team.
So are we just going off of greatest to never win? No, ever. Greatest to never win a world title, pretty much?
Scott Hall.
Yeah, and you could say I don't think Scott Hall was ever the number one headliner. He was always overshadowed.
Roddy Piper.
Yeah, Roddy Piper. Well, he was a headliner, but Scott Hall was never a headliner.
Yeah, Arn Anderson.
Arn Anderson, Scott Hall. Yeah. I mean,
Magnum TA.
I think Scott Hall is the big one, though.
I think Roddy Piper's a huge one, and one that a lot of people don't recognize is Ted DiBiase was never an actual world heavyweight champion back in his run in WWF.
Nope. Yeah. No, he bought it for a day. He bought it from one.
He bought it for a day, but that's about it.
More than what we could say. But yeah, I would say I could say Scott. I'll even throw a name out there.
Owen Hart.
Owen Hart. I think Kurt Hennig. I think
yes, God.
Perfect.
Mr. Perfect.
Another guy that should have been WWF champion, even though he's been champion in the past, he should have been WWF champion while he was there. His Vader should have been WWF champion at some point in time while he was there.
Yeah.
Rick Steiner.
Fuck him. I don't like him. I only liked him when he was in the Varsity Club with Mike Rotunda and Kevin Sullivan. But
brother, would you like to come wrestle in
Florida,
brother?
You know what? There's a name right there we never mentioned. Kevin Sullivan.
I hate
Yes. Hey, you know what?
I don't mean take away the Dungeon of Doom. And Kevin Sullivan was a badass wrestler before all of that corny shit.
Hardcore before, that had the title hardcore.
Yeah. Eddie Gilbert, I think, comes to mind. These are mostly, like, I would say, NWA territory.
Yeah, hot stuff Eddie Gilbert.
Hot stuff Eddie Gilbert.
Rick Rude.
Rick Rude. Yeah. Man, that dude had the best tights in all of wrestling. Jake the Snake Roberts might disagree, but everybody else might. So.
And there goes another great all-time mid-carder.
Jake the Snake, yeah, I would definitely put him up there with one of the ultimate mid-carders. I don't think there is the quintessential #1 mid-carder, because no matter what you say, I could bring up a name. You're like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Oh yeah, I could sit here all night naming great mid-carders.
Yes, yes.
See,
But
for me, a great mid-carder, it's not just in-ring ability. It's can you entertain me from a comedy standpoint as well? Because as a mid-carder, that's also an aspect of it.
yeah, Bam Bam
Shane
Big.
McMahon. Bam Bam.
Bam Bam, one of the most agile big guys ever. His matches against Taz, which is going to lead me into Shane Douglas.
Yes.
Just mentioning Shane Douglas, his color commentating and their match when they go through the stage might be some of the best color commentating I have ever heard. Shane Douglas was a maniac calling that match.
Yes. Bam, I could. Bam Bam was
Bam Bam doesn't
so
count.
underrated. He was underrated in WWF. And let's face it, the only reason why he was a main eventer in WWF because he was that mega heel going up against Hulk Hogan, at the time when it was, he was being fed, those big badasses.
He also made events at WrestleMania once.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor.
WrestleMania 11.
Former ECW heavyweight champion.
WCW with the Triad. I thought him and Canyon and DDP. I may have been one of the only ones. I thought that was an awesome thing. Definitely a play on.
Oh, they were great.
Definitely a play on the Triple Threat. But the Triple Threat in ECW, I mean, you want to talk about Shane Douglas, legitimate main eventer, in my opinion. It was a hell of a guy. Not in WCW or WWF.
If he goes with this gimmick that he had from ECW, just being himself, he could be.
Oh yeah.
Just because he's going to get over with that, just being that raw and having that emotion. Shane Douglas was a pissed off dude. He was misused for years, and he was held down for years. And Paul Heyman finally gave him that ball to run with it, and he did, just that.
And that showed his body of work in ECW showed he had a gripe, It wasn't like, okay, we'll give you a chance, and he fell on his face. He carried ECW. I mean, he literally was ECW when it started. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But the fact
first ever ECW world champ.
Yep. And the fact that you take a guy like Chris Candido, who was a fucking joke in WWF because of that gimmick, and the fact that he put over my favorite jobber ever, one Mr. Barry, pat yourself on the back, Horowitz. But still, I mean, his biggest thing in WWF was he put over Barry Horowitz, who Reno Riggins didn't even put over Barry Horowitz, for God's freaking sake. But he puts over Barry Horowitz. Then you got Bam Bam Bigelow, which it's like, okay, yeah, he was a big guy that could do cartwheels, and ultimately he got beat, by Hulk Hogan, and then he was embarrassed by Lawrence Taylor.
All three guys held down and misused.
Yep, and you take all three of those guys, and what do you have? Arguably the best faction in ECW ever. I mean, you could say the Dudleys. You could say a couple others.
When you put all three together, though, that might be arguably the most talented faction you will ever see in pro wrestling history.
Yep.
Just because those guys were just raw talent.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Candido, even though he had that shit gimmick in WWF, you watch his stuff in ECW, and everything is just so crisp and so spot on that it's just almost untouchable. You won't find, it's rare you'll find anything like that. Same with Bam Bam's work, and same with Shane Douglas's work as well.
Yeah, and you look at them, all three of them brought something different. Chris Candido brought, the dude could just wrestle. He was the Garvin of the Freebirds. The dude could wrestle. Shane Douglas could start a riot, with holding a microphone. And then Bam Bam Bigelow, throwing Spike Dudley into the crowd, going through the mat.
He's your enforcer. He comes in and handles the job.
I mean, he went through, rings. He went through entranceways. He threw people into the crowd, freaking 10, 15 feet out of the ring into the crowd. I mean, and he had tattoos on his head. I mean, those three together, arguably, like you said, one of the greatest. I would easily say top 5 factions.
Yeah, and
They
that's a shame
were
because that's not. It's a shame because that's not recognized.
no, and they were the faction of ECW. I mean, the only other ones you could really say was, Dudley's, but that wasn't so much, But they were the faction.
Impact players.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. With Just Incredible, Lance Storm, and
I mean, do you consider that a faction? I mean,
Kind of a tag team.
I guess you do consider it a faction because there's 4 total people.
yeah, that's a faction because Team Madness, that was a faction. I mean,
Yeah, you got a point.
you
I guess the sexiest man alive, Jason, and Dunnery, I guess they do count as part of the make it a faction. Yeah,
and Jason, he had an eye for talent.
Jason. Yes, Jason.
in very good shape too. Might I add?
Have you seen him
for a
lately?
manager.
Have you
No.
seen him lately? Man, I hope he got as much poo tang as he could in the 90s because dude hasn't gotten shit since 2000. Fat and bald. I mean, he had that inner fat kid in him because he had his tights cinched up to his nipples even when he was in shape. That I never understood. He was the Buck Bagwell of ECW. But before I know we didn't get into the history mark because I didn't realize one Mr. 4-0 was going to be gracing his presence.
4-0.
You remember that. Edge was 4-0 once. Now look at him. Take your shtick to sci-fi, if you will. But, wrapping things up, what do you think the most underrated? I don't know. You could say federation, tag team, faction, wrestler, manager. Each one of you, all three of you, in your own opinions, the most underrated, just the one aspect of wrestling that never got its due for being as great or as good as it, she, he, they were.
ECW, 1998, hands down. Wasn't on TV yet. It was still syndication. If you weren't watching the pay-per-views, you didn't watch it. And ECW 98, I'd put that against, and it's hard because 98 you can argue is the best year ever.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes it even better because, yeah, I can put it against WF and WCW 98, but those are probably their 2 best years as well. So you had a product, wrestling at the time, where you had the 3 top promotions putting out probably maybe some of their best years ever. Definitely ECW's best year ever, 98.
Yeah, that's hard to argue. That year. Oh, by the way, 98. When I talked to Shane Douglas, he put over the Burt Flickinger Center as one of the best, one of the best spots to ever wrestle at. Like you said, we started off. He goes the lineage. He goes the mystique, the aurora of the ECW arena could never be surpassed. He goes, but the Burt Flickinger Center, and I didn't even say, anything about it. Like he knew it by name all these years later. Just because I said I was in Buffalo, and he brought up the Burt Flickinger Center. He goes, it was big, it was built like an arena, but it was small. He goes, he put over the Buffalo wrestling community, Buffalo wrestling crowd. It was one of the best wrestling crowds ever, he said. And he goes, he had a feeling that ECW had made it when they were at the Burt Flickinger Center, because of the atmosphere of that arena. So yeah.
Oh, that's
Props.
awesome. That's awesome. I've watched a few Buffalo events, and the crowd is definitely heavily into it.
I was at one, and I was on camera side for one of them. I was the dude with long hair and a hat with a flannel shirt. So was everybody else in the 90s. But there was another guy dressed exactly like myself who was just a little bit taller. And my friend, Gilly, Chris Gilly Gillinger, has, I don't know if he still does, but had the Sandman's kendo stick from one of those shows. And let me tell you,
Cool.
it hurt because you drink enough Steve Weisers at the house, and they'll be like, "Hey, get Sandman's kendo stick. Let's see if it really hurts." Oh my God, I think you just ripped a skin tag off. But yeah, ECW '98. I would definitely say. What about the dangerous dream team of tag team wrestling? What do you guys think? The most underrated overall?
Underrated tag teams.
I mean, I was calling you two the tag team.
Oh,
Dusty Rhodes, WWF.
Dusty Rhodes WWF is a good one.
Yes.
I thought he was asking an underrated tag team. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That Vader run, but I gotta go with Mike Awesome just because we were talking about it, and in reality, that dude is really, in my opinion, that is the most underrated professional wrestler of all time.
He's actually one of my favorite wrestlers.
Mine as well. I played some of our earlier shows.
One of the coolest theme songs.
It's time. It's Vader time. Yeah, the fact that the dude pushed his eyeball back in and kept on going against Steve Hansen. That's all you got to say. Like, if my eyeball popped out, I'm done living. I'm done. I'm
Badass.
I'm done. That dude just went.
I've also heard he's also one of the most genuine and soft-hearted guys in the back.
Yep. And if it wasn't for a knee injury, they said most likely he could have been an NFL Hall of Fame center.
I heard he was a hell of an offensive lineman, yeah.
He won a Super Bowl, I believe, with the Rams. And he was also from Compton.
Dusty Rhodes was also a hell of a lineman.
Yeah. Vader was from the Compton, Watts area of Los Angeles. So that dude.
Ooh, wow, he was a straight gangster.
that dude was and always will be, I think, a legitimate fucking badass. You know, there's a reason why he could push an eyeball. I don't think that was the first time he ever pushed his eye back in. Truth be told.
Oh man, imagine a match between like him and like
Foley?
No, they had a few.
He ripped his ear off. Yeah.
Like imagine like a Vader and Brock Lesnar match, or Vader and Mike Awesome.
Vader and New Jack.
Vader and New
Jack. Shit, you know what? Let's just make it the ultimate New Jack versus New Jack. Or hold on, how about this? New Jack versus Sonny.
Ooh.
But I think mine, ultimate underdog, whatever, unheralded. I would have to go with Kurt Hennig.
Yeah, that's a good one. Someone that definitely should have and had the skill to be WWF World Champion.
Yep.
Just didn't work out that way.
WCW US Champion, WWF IC Champion, AWA World's Heavyweight Champion. There's no reason why he could talk, he could wrestle, he could go. No reason why he shouldn't have been a heavyweight champion in all three promotions.
Over as a face, and he had heat as a heel.
Yes, legitimate on both, and the dude could catch his own gum, like that. So, but
and the towel, yeah.
The towel and the gum. Like, I saw him catch his gum. I used to practice that. My grandma would yell at me, "You're gonna get your gum on the floor."
I still can.
Yeah, now I just try it now with loogies, because yeah, when you don't have gum, do something. But anyway, we're gonna wrap things up here, and we are still going to get to next week, our top broadcasting announce teams. So, and I have the winner, and I'm just gonna have to announce it now. One of us, okay, one of us is 5-0.
And that's because I'm dedicated.
You're dedicated.
That's horseshit.
I'm gonna call you
Doesn't
Mr.
want to talk about Joey's status. What is going on here?
I don't know, man. I thought I had a Sherlock as well. Sherlock, get it?
You
Anyway,
can't beat dedication.
No, that's ridiculous. I want to know why these people don't want to hear about the only man to call a pay-per-view solo in history from start to finish. Give me a break here.
you know why? Because I think Twitter's infested with guys that want to be undefeated in life, and they can't. So they're living vicariously. But with that being said, guys, thank you for again tuning in to an episode of MPW Military Press Wrestling. Again, tune in and check out and go to www.betsonmedia.com and check out all the show listings. And tomorrow you'll be able to check out, if you go to Tactical 16 on iTunes and Podbean, you can check out my interview with Shane Douglas from earlier this evening. So go to Tactical 16 with Silent J on iTunes or Podbean, and you can check that out. It's a 2-hour show. I had Cody Knox, filmmaker extraordinaire, Wrestlers versus Zombies, and then I had one franchise, Shane Douglas, on for an hour and 20 minutes. So you guys can check that out. Next week we're going to talk about Mr. Dedicated's 5-0 streak and his
6-0 next week.
Yeah, I'll give you 6-0. You're fired.
I'm on a mission to conquer the streak. I'm not having it. Enough is enough. Mr. Dedicated's got to go.
Yeah, you know what? And we are men on a mission. So, he could be Oscar. So, and then we're mom. But with that being said, guys, thank you for sharing your wrestling knowledge. And everybody out there, I hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll be back next week for episode 9 of Military Press Wrestling. And watch some wrestling if you guys will. All right?